Yousuf, it's been half a season since you've joined the club. How would you describe the past few months?
Look, it's been a tough season. I think it's been probably one of the toughest that we've had. Certainly some of the toughest results. It's very easy to base a conclusion from that point, but there's a lot more. And what I learned whilst I was here is that there's a lot more that's gone into that. And it's very easy for us to kind of blame the finances, blame the players, but in the end, just from a footballing organisation perspective, I don't think we've been good enough. There's certain areas that I feel like we have needed to be better, and we look at where we are now, and it's a contributing factor. And when we look at where we want to be next season, we've tried to identify some of those areas. So if we look at, for example, performance culture, not really an emphasis on physical conditioning, not really an emphasis on nutrition, too many dual roles. When we look at our sort of medical department, not having a full-time physio, not really having a player recruitment strategy where we build a squad based off that. So these are all the things that contribute in the end to being where we are. Of course, there's other factors involved, and of course finances are a factor in that, but some of it is just basic principles of what we should have, in my opinion.
Yeah, how do you want to improve those areas looking to the next season?
Yeah, look, from where we are now, any type of improvements we try and make are going to take time because of where we're starting from. But I feel like we have a new head coach that not only wants to invest his time in the team but also in the club. We've worked on a few things around the club that we feel like we need to change. William now being full-time with the first team, and us having clear divisions within the roles in the academy and also in the first team as well. Bringing on a video analyst who's full-time, working with the squad, working with the coaching staff. And then from a performance perspective, we brought in now a head of performance that will start from next season, that will focus on the physical conditioning of the players. And also we will work towards building a gym. And again, from our perspective, it wasn't a case of us wanting to do that and that being a luxury. It was that we needed to. So when we had a scenario regarding the finances and us not potentially having the finances to be able to do it, what's really nice about this club is that there are people that genuinely care. So when we meet with the sponsors and when we meet with people around the club, they genuinely want to contribute towards making this place a better place. And I think that's where we are now with the gym, is that we are building it now through the help of the sponsors, and for us it just fuels us even more because we see the help that we can get around the club. For me, it's no excuses. Like if we can't find a way through the finances that we're not able to get, we turn another corner and try and find a solution. And I think this is going to be a big improvement to where we are, just from a physical standpoint. And then when we look at pre-season is going to be tough. We're going to come back 2 weeks earlier, like mentioned, from Tomek. And that's because we really want to put an emphasis on our physical conditioning. Not only do we want to be a better team on the pitch, we also want to be a fitter team and a team that can compete next season.
But also after half a season, what's your feeling with the club? How do you feel about the environment around here?
So what I realised very quickly when I came here is that there are a lot of people that genuinely care. We think about the number of volunteers, take time out of their day to help us function throughout the day. But also the number of sponsors, the fans have been incredible throughout the season. And I think that's what really makes this club special. And of course we look at this especially me, I look at this as a club with real big potential. And those are the reasons why. Just because we have so many people around the club that actually genuinely care. And that's where we want to try and work as absolute hard as possible for us to give back in that perspective.
Yeah, in what way can you feel you and the squad and the rest of the club already made progress since January? Because we've constantly heard like, yeah, we're in a progress, we need to develop. But in what ways are there examples that you can tell like this and this actually changed?
You can certainly feel that there is a change in mindset. Of course, the change in mindset has to impact on the pitch, which in my opinion we haven't necessarily fully seen yet. We saw parts of it in the game against Almere at home, and that was really good to see. But really where we want to see it is still a work in progress, and it will be naturally. But I think there is a change in mindset in knowing that this is going to be a very different place next season. And that's the way we want to approach it at the moment.
Yeah, to round up this season, you're also new in the role of technical manager. What are things that surprised you in a hard way, in an easy way, in a surprising way? What are the things you've dealt with that you didn't expect?
Everything, I think. There's a lot that I expected to have to deal with, but I think it came quite quickly. So you come into a role, like I said, where the morale isn't very high. You then lose a further 3 games following on my appointment when I come, and you almost have to find solutions, but you're also under pressure to find solutions quickly. So I think it's not necessarily difficult. I know it's a role that has a lot of responsibility, but also at the same time, I think trying to find the right solutions but quickly is certainly a difficult task in any job.
Looking to next season, what are your goals about player recruitment for next year?
So, listen, from a squad composition perspective, first of all, we want players that want to be here, whether that's internal, whether that's players that we sign. So that's the number one criteria for me. We can't build what we're trying to build if we don't have players that want to be here. So I think that's first and foremost. Second of all, when we look at the foundation of the team, for us, it's very easy for us to go and get 2 or 3 players that are experienced players to try and compete. But I don't think that has any real value for where we are right now. I think where we are is we want to build a foundation. We want to have players that have the criteria for us to want to play the way we want to play, and whether that means players proving themselves in pre-season, or whether that means players from the academy, or whether that means us signing players, the criteria remains the same. From a player recruitment perspective, there's three things that need to fit for us. One is they have to want to sign for us. They've got to want to be here, like I said. 2 is the financials, and then 3 is them being good enough. And it's not going to be easy to try and replicate that 7 or 8 times to try and bring players in if that's what we're looking at. But we will try and find a way.
You mentioned it earlier. When a new player comes in, he has to fit into the budget. Is there anything going to change next season regarding the financial side you have to work with?
Look, the short answer is no. We have to be creative with how we create our budget, not only from a player perspective, but also from a general organisation perspective. But it's not impossible. Of course, it's difficult. But like we are with the gym and other aspects, we just have to try and be creative with how we shift and move. And I personally don't want to use that as an excuse next season for anything. I feel like we maybe have fell into that a little bit, and it's easy to fall into. So I don't blame anyone for it. But I think there are ways around it, and we have to try and find those ways. I certainly don't want to hear that as an excuse, or definitely from my part use that as an excuse next season. We just have to try and find a way.
What do you really expect for next season?
But for us, at the moment, we just want to be competitive. It frustrates me that I feel like whenever we play opposition teams, they look at the fixture against us and think it's an easy 3 points. So for us, at the first stop is making sure that we're competitive next season, making sure that we make it difficult for teams that come here, and also improve our away form. But there's steps that we need to take towards that, and I think the steps we're making now and then going into pre-season will prepare us for that. With the changes that we've spoken about, I'm confident that we will get there.